You talking about the ducks that are down there pooping?
I'm talking about anything down there with poop. So while we, while we have somebody was interested in our parks and stuff, you can cut over it, but that's not gonna solve the problem. You're taking up a bit more than you might want to chew. Because then it's so much, you have to go, before you cut me off, I'm finished, actually, but I just think we ought to think about it and have this fine gentleman to understand it before we go down there. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Is there a concern?
Just very quickly, because it's more than just.
Can you come up to the mic, please?
Yes, sir. It-
Well, you only want to do Riverview Drive. It's not the park, right?
But he said maintenance of the streets or something. So what we need to do, being elected officials, is to make sure that, for one, is that a local or major street? Which one is it considered as? And if, in fact, it would eliminate the city from anything of having to fix it up if they're taking over you know
No,
what I'm saying?
they're not taking over the street. They're just cleaning it up.
Well, yeah.
And I reached out to
I'm just saying, though, legislatively, it just needs to be.
I reached out to MDOT
Be clear.
before I
Because sometimes-
contacted you guys.
So, City Manager Little, is there anything that we need to know that we don't know that will put us into jeopardy or liability or anything?
No, sir, there isn't. We just simply need to move it along and let it be done. This is the same kind of thing the Lions and Kiwanis and every other organization's been doing for the last 100 years.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion's already been made by Dr. Tyler to push this forward?
Yes.
Thank you. This is crazy. I gotta keep on pressing this button. Ain't no way I can tape it down.
Who's doing the alpha? Who's doing the female? You represent both male, female?
I don't have anything to do with this.
Number 2, approval of a alpha cap. You got it. I only got to take it over. You sure? All right. Approval of alpha sorority. Adoption of Britton Play Park for maintenance and upkeep for the year 2025. Anybody here, brother? You were. Oh, you're not alpha.
No,
You're not.
Miss Erin Hudson is the person that represents the AKA sorority. She made the offer that they will adopt the Britton Play Park, which I've been advised that the correct number for that is the Kids Park, I believe it is. Yeah. That apparently was designated some years ago by the people who donated it to the city.
Okay.
And they essentially will be doing the same thing, but they'll be taking care of the park itself there on the corner and keeping it in good shape for the youth and the kids. And we certainly appreciate AKA for their offer to do this. It will also help the city and help the citizens.
Dr. Donald J. Tides, MD.
Yeah, question, Honorable Chair. Yeah, on Britain, there's 2 parks. There's one by Colfax, and then there's one on Pipestone. Are we talking about the one on Pipestone or the one on by Colfax?
Pipestone and Britain.
Okay. All right, so you had a body that was there maintaining that, or you had them with there doing activities at that. So 2 issues. So one, I think, helping out is a great idea, 100%. Is there a reason this gentleman came and why the AKAs are not here? And can we just say, let them do this when they don't have representation or a presentation?
I don't believe representation is really necessary. I indicated to them, and they said they wouldn't be able to be here this evening, that we would simply present it and know exactly what they're going to do, just as this gentleman just described, for what they're going to do. And again, this isn't something new.
No, no, no. I just want to make sure if they told you and they knew that you weren't going to be here, we didn't have that information, so we're good. You know,
Yeah.
then if they said that they couldn't make it, then we could move it forward.
Yes.
But we didn't have that knowledge. You had that knowledge.
Certainly.
Thank you, Honorable Dr. Donald Jeffrey Tynes. They're not going to be here to break a presentation if we move it forward. Commissioner Warren, then Commissioner Mary Alice Adams.
I just had one point for clarity. The park on Pipestone in Britain, I thought was called Pipestone Park. I just wanted to make sure we're talking about the right park.
We are. It's been referred to by a number of different names.
It was Hightower Park.
But it's the same park, right on the corner there, where we had last year, the little signs put in for little kids to read as they go through there and so forth.
Commissioner Mary Alice Adams.
Okay. Do I have to come up? Yep, YouTube. No problem.
We're on YouTube. That's the only
Trying to
reason.
get better. So my question is basically the same as co-chair, because I've grown up in Benton Harbor. And Pipestone Park has always been Pipestone Park at the corner of Britain and Pipestone. Britain Park has always been Britain Park on the edge of Britain and Colfax. So I'm just saying, I'd like clarity.
Is that Pipestone Park or Britain Park? Can we get
Pipestone Park is
clarity on that?
across from the old Tablets Pharmacy, which went from that to Rite Aid, which is now Family Dollar.
Which park are we talking about? Hightower Park?
Yeah, that joke you got, Hightower Park, that's a joke. Ain't it?
Please.
Don't say anything, because you was irritated.
We're saying, the only reason I'm saying that is because it's right across the street from there. And,
It is right across the street from Family Dollar and on the corner there of,
former Mayor Hightower's house.
across from it.
Can somebody read the name of it? Is it Kitty Park, and it's an old park.
But what's the name of the park?
That's the proper name of the park that she just said. Yeah.
It's just called the Kitty Park?
That was a name apparently that the benefactors, whom I understand was the same Mayor Clark that donated Jean Clark Park, and another gentleman, I believe an attorney back in that period, and they named it the Kitty Park.
Okay, so can we name it just adoption of the Kitty Park? Instead of putting the
We'll
Britain
certainly
Play
amend
Park?
it and put that
So
in
it
there.
doesn't be an argument for
Yes.
Can they just
the
show
other
up at the
people.
meeting before you pass the resolution?
Will they be, hold on. Will they be here? Well, that's no
I
problem.
suspect they will.
Yeah. Can we have them here for the final vote?
I'll ask them to be here. Yes.
Thank you. Is there approval to move? this
Motion to
forward?
approve.
Thank you. Thank you. Approval of the purchase of property from Michigan Department of Natural Resources within the Ox Creek project area. Is there a short presentation on that?
Basically, this is a piece of property along Ox Creek. We've previously identified some and acquired them, but this one we had not. They're basically make them available for public uses, such as a project that we're doing, for only $300.
Can we see it, Honorable Chair?
How much is that? How much are you paying for it?
$300.
Could you say that one more time?
$300.
Okay, and where is it at?
It's off of Ox Creek, and I'm forgetting the name of the street. Yes, it's in Benton Harbor.
Can we see the pictures so we can see like we did the other presentation?
I don't have a picture here with me.
They're selling us the property for $300 for Ox Creek for us to continue to do what we're doing with the multi-million-dollar grant we got, right? So we're buying it for $300.
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there any way you can find a picture somewhere so we can? I mean, I don't for $300. I mean, you can't buy 2 bags of groceries.
Really. And this
Is that
is
it right there? That you're putting it up on the? There it is, right there.
perfect.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk's on the ball tonight. She didn't cancel my meeting. So you see it right there? Could you zoom in a little bit? Zoom in. Zoom in. Keep zooming.
That's Washington. Okay, where is that? Okay, that's Ross. Oh, okay.
So that's Washington and Ross Street right there. And they're willing to give it to us.
I grew up in that house. I grew up right there. It was 2 twin homes right
So they're willing to give it to us for $300. All right.
Take it. I think they
Yeah.
Dr. Tynes has the floor, please.
Yeah, this point of clarity, this is an understanding. So I have no problem with the purchasing. So we're using that. Is that for a point of access, or why do we need that particular piece of property a little bit distant from Ox Creek? Is for access, or why?
It will be used as a point of access as well as possibly also a supplemental area for people to barbecue and whatnot and so forth. We're going to be doing those all up and down through that process too. But everything that's within the immediate bounds there of that Ox Creek area, we're going to be trying to acquire.
Thank you. That's just like on.
Honorable Chair, so to allow access, is that, so the goal here is $300 so that they'll, and I'm thinking from the earlier gentleman, to allow access to be able to work on Ox Creek and then later to have access for public use. Is that
All
what I'm
of the
hearing?
above, exactly.
I want to appreciate you, Director Little, City Manager Little, because you're doing basically the same thing the Cornerstone was doing to us for years. They was buying property and prime property, just like they did on Buena Vista, where you can go down there, you can't buy a lot without trying to intersect with them. And they put all that stuff down on Buena Vista. If you haven't been on Buena Vista, you need to look. You know, you go down there and fish, smoke dope, do whatever you want to do. Drink whiskey, do whatever you want to do. Take your prostitute down there, whatever you want to do. You know,
Wow.
and be happy, whatever you want to do. So you're doing what was done before, but we need that property, and it's just true. I mean, they anytime we can get the property, God ain't making no more.
Exactly.
And so we need this piece of property to make it accessible to our residents and our people for $300. I don't see a problem with it.
And if I might, just for a historical fact, that area you're talking about down on Buena Vista, that was a site that was decided on back in 1986 to put a minimum security prison on that people raised sand about until they withdrew the offer. But the governor offered to put a 500-bed medium security prison here in Benton Harbor and to hire half of the 500 people that would be necessary to operate it from here in the area. People squawked and raised sand and whatnot until we gave it up, and what's there at CAPEC now was our consolation prize.
They pay us nothing.
I know it's not a whole lot of people who were around back at that time, but I was involved in that and doing my darndest to try to get that here in the city. The governor had told me specifically, he says, we spend $25 million on foodstuffs and so forth, $7 million on dentistry. He says, and the payroll would basically fuel the economy of this city for years and years. but folks were raising sand, they didn't want it.
Just like the casino.
Man, Commissioner,
So I just had a comment. Where we're buying at, that's where I had my cleanup at. I think it was earlier this month, and I noticed that lot 5. So this is lot 7 for block 949. Lot 5 is up for auction right now. So are we getting that one at a minimum of $100 bid?
Should do.
Yes. Yeah, because Dane was there and he mentioned that Ox Creek is behind, but he said it was an easement back there.
can we not just get that from the county?
Yeah. Without having to purchase?
The only thing I will say is there is a,
Why?
Unfortunately, what the situation is now is whenever we get property from the county, we have to pay whatever outstanding taxes remain. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
one other just thing to add with what I'm referring to, lot 5, it is a house that we have to tear down.
Commissioner Adams.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And thank you for cleaning up over there because I wasn't over there and it wasn't easy at all. And then they came right back and did it again. And then they complained about them cameras and I heard that earlier, but we're gonna talk about that further too because we need them everywhere. Because we can't keep spending our money and then having to keep spending it over and over. I wanna thank you because my question becomes, is that a mitigated piece of property if we're having to purchase it from DNR? Okay, good. I grew up right there, and there was a twin house right next door to it, same colors. There's a house down the street of an older lady that we used to pick at her farm as children, and her property goes all the way down in the valley, but ours didn't. Can you look at that whole area? Because it really needs to be developed. I want to thank you because I can appreciate and see the bigger vision of a sliding down over by the Boys and Girls Club in the wintertime. All of that we've discussed in the master plan of the Hall Park. My question would be, because I love the idea of it being open for barbecuing for the people in the community over there, stairs. Would that remove the other stairs or just an extra set of stairs? I think that'd be so cute, so neat.
It's interesting you mentioned that. That was a subject of discussion today in a meeting that we had about
just a
possibly
visionary, that's all.
setting 2 sets of them. I understand there was one years ago where children would take that walk down
Yeah, we
over
step
the
and
creek
then we
to
slide.
come up on this side to go to the high school
Yep.
when it was right
Yep.
up here where John Marshall
Back,
homes
yeah.
are right now. And we're talking about restoring, putting that back, and possibly one other one for people to walk across here.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Deidre Fields. I'm wanting to acquire, as I have done different things in the community in regards to engagement, and a couple things stood out. Someone sent it to me, let me know that about us obtaining property and things of that nature, right? So I know we had an event a couple times at Pastor Palmer's church here on Pipestone. And then we were talking about this overflow in a lot area, and then I learned that the city owns 272 Pipestone. I think that's the correct address, but how, and then I have a couple of them city-owned properties that are next to some homes.
Are we talking about?
What is the process of,
Are you talking about number 3?
oh, I'm asking rather, how the city are obtaining different lots. What is
Oh.
the process for lots to be obtained that the city owns?
Okay, do me a favor. There's public comments after
Okay,
the next,
okay.
and then you'll be recognized, and then we'll
Okay.
go for that. Thank you.
Move that we move it forward.
So moved.
Thank you. Number 3 has been moved forward. Number 4, approval of contract for operation and maintenance of Benton Harbor Water Plant and Distribution Center.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that presenting you tonight and prepared to answer any questions that you might have on it. There's been a great deal of work personally that I've had to put into this because in terms of trying to manage your city, the 3 largest draws on general fund are the police department, the water department, and the public works department. So it's extremely important to manage and try to control cost in those areas, because as you do so, you also control your general fund and what you'll have to do other necessary things that have to take place in the city. Previously, when this first started, before I got here, we had city people doing certain things, and then there was a contract with F&V basically to provide several people with the appropriate licenses that were required by the state. Over the time between then and now, as the city did less and they had to do more, but it was not covered under the contract as routine work, it added a huge amount to the cost because all of it was extra. And fortunately, during a good portion of that period, the city had those $1 million from ARPA. That's gone now. We don't have it. We can't do that anymore. So it was very necessary. Excuse me, just one moment, please.
Go ahead and answer that.
Oh, I'm loaded.
Honorable Chair, question.
Let him finish, please.
I'm done. So as I was saying, we basically, with the discussions and negotiations that have gone on for this contract, it was to include everything necessary as routine operations, cover that cost, not incur all of the additional markups and so forth, because we just can't afford to pay it. We don't have the money for it. And that has enabled us to come up with a contract that's fair to F&B and also fair to the city. And it spells out basically, well, as you already know, we don't have the expenditure currently of what we were spending with city people duplicating work or supposedly doing it, even though it wasn't getting done. And now, as most everything is included, with the exception of non-routine kind of situations that might come up, that might require extra, and even with those, we've reserved for ourselves in this contract the right to purchase whatever materials, equipment, and items like that are needed, and likewise to put together bids if we need a subcontractor to go out so we can get the best price we can for any subcontractors that come in, as opposed to somebody just being come in and we never know. So we've done a lot of things in here, and it's now ready for passage, and pleased to bring it before you this evening.
Got a question, I think. You got a question? Do you have a question? Clerk, does he have a question? Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Tynes, then Commissioner Adams.
Yeah.
Through the chair, question one, the role of F&V in the past, were they involved in the water department prior to this and during the times when we had difficulty with our water department? And two, what's being done nationally with the storm drain and storm water collection? They were actually lifting up, putting these filter screens to catch the debris to cut down the leaves and papers going into the fresh water. Is that going to be included in the system? So number one, what's the history? Is this a new contract? Have they been there before? And if they've been here before, then we need to look at them based on the problems that we have. So that's what I'm asking, Honorable Chair.
The answer is that they were present there and had a role before. I believe since 1921 or 22. But their role that they were contracted for at that time was limited. It was supposed to supplement what the city was doing. They simply were providing people with the licenses required by the state in order for us to be able to operate a plant. But what occurred is more and more of the things that the city operation would have been expected to do was not done, and it fell to them, and they all became add-ons, additional money.
Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Adams.
And here we are. Okay. So, this company that we chose out of the three choices that we had, that's who we talking about, right?
That's correct, ma'am.
Okay, did he do his job, his due diligence in doing what he said that he would do with working with our school or the college? With some of the students that live locally in that field of work, has he been training them? Because he said that he would. When are we gonna stop allowing people to do us the way they do us? Just like Abbenmarsh, we need an advisory board to go over contracts that go through there. And just like this right here, we knew that we were going to come to this point. But it was actually within the negotiations that he started working with someone locally and start training them. But we are where we are. And there's a lot of talks going on around the country because they're trying to sneakily privatize our water systems, not just Benton Harbors. And outsourcing, crumbs at a time will eventually get us there. We live in Michigan. I can't believe that this was on this agenda, but I met a young lady today at this event over here when Clinton came. And she lives in Berrien County, and she was complaining. They utilizing their own waste because legislatively, they have septic tanks. So they're hit. I mean, we should count our blessings, but we need, in the midst of those negotiations, I remember the governor saying that, and some others saying that, well, surely we could use the groundwater, why not? Nestle's using it and selling it to us when we should be able to use it ourselves. For us to utilize that and eliminate the water filtration plant would be, in a long run, cheaper, but it'll take us a while to get there. Hear me when I say this, especially if this election go the way I'm praying that God allows it to. Now is the time to start on making plans to utilize our groundwater. We have the freshest water source in the world in Lake Michigan. And those of us that are here are blessed to be here. We have our own jewel. We have the gold. And it's time for us to start utilizing it and finding ways to sell some, to bring in money. How long we been talking about that? Every bit of what, 18, 20 years too? And here we are. I'm not a hamster, and I ain't on nobody's wheel. I got this letter today When I got home, it was in the mail. Drinking water test results. I was broken out, and I didn't know why. So I work with people that I can send my water to. I shouldn't have had to. I'm working on trying to obtain some funding to start our own testing facility. See, I be busier than people think or than I know with the school. But people don't know that the water that's coming through is very important to keep using filters because the water is full of, what is it?
Phosphates,
No,
calcium.
other chemicals. I mean, not chemicals,
Was it
no,
lead,
lead, not lead, but it's the other,
phosphate, fluoride,
no,
calcium,
no.
chlorine?
It was it's very unhealthy, I do know that. Because if it's breaking my skin out, imagine what it's doing inside if we're drinking and cooking with it, if we're not utilizing a filter on our water system. So I'm just hoping that in the midst of all this, Mr. Lilly, that you hear me and we can work together moving forward and hopefully training our children. We have a swimming pool. We live by a lake. We've had so
Okay.
many that have drowned to start working with our schools more and trying to create jobs, future jobs for our children to run their own water plant, whatever it may look like when that time comes. Keeping their money in our own.
Do we have a consensus?
I had a question. Based on what the commission was saying, I need to get clear. Is this company a reliable company? Because it was kind of almost like it wasn't, and there was the threat of losing the filtration plant. So I wanted to make sure that,
No,
get those two things cleared up, or,
the state, it was a mandate. We had to choose between three options. And we was just coming out of emergency management and still things were fuzzy and we had to make a decision ASAP because by then they had changed, put chemicals in the water to try to slow down the erosion in the pipes.
How was the water test, though?
Oh,
How you
mine,
brought-
it was some type of, what did she call it? I ought to get this to you, Dr. Time.
Oh, Lord.
I tried to explain, I don't know this, but it's important that we teach our children.
All right, so can we,
You can throw it away when you're done with it.
I could, I'd
Well, we'll
like to
put the motion
respond to
forward.
one question that was asked. And yes, this company is reliable. It is certified as one of the more highly respected companies in this field. And, if I might just say, throughout my career, as I've gone into different cities, and everyone is a different situation, has a history, a past, and then has people's aspirations and hopes for the future. What I do when I get there is an extensive assessment of what is reality today. And when I get that picture lined out, I take what I can from past and look toward what people's aspirations and hopes are, and then begin to develop a way to get there. In this particular situation, the commission voted and decided it wanted to keep its water facility. I took that as a mandate to me when I got in this seat, and I have been working on that. This contract, every word in it, I've written, rewritten, debated, discussed, and whatnot, changed, and there's probably 20 iterations of it that have gone back and forth between us. But ultimately, the objective is, one, meet the requirements that the state has placed on the city to make sure its water operation is in fact what it should be, that we meet these standards in terms of testing for different chemicals and compounds and whatnot that we can, and then to do it in the most efficient manner. Because what I found, especially with cities like Benton Harbor, there are forever some players somewhere that have maybe not your best intentions at heart. We're trying to get to where we need to go. And right now, this is the best way to do it. You all know that for the last year, in fact, probably 2.5 years, you were getting letters from the state about a TMF plan. You recall they came here and sat and talked to you about a TMF plan after I came into the seat. We requested 2 or 3 extensions in order to give me time to get all of this information and make sure that I understood it, knew what to do with it, and could put it together. And then we gave them our response in a TMF letter. So this is the final key step that they have been asking about month after month after month. Now, you said that you were going to operate it by contract, which we did, because we were down to 2 choices: contract to do it ourselves. How can you do it yourself if you don't have any certified people to do it? So that wasn't a choice. So we said we're going to contract it, and they kept saying, all right, have you got a contract yet? No, but I'm working on it. And that's because I did not want to rush it. I wanted to make sure I didn't make mistakes that would cost the city. Got it where I want it to be now. I'm prepared to bring it forward to you and to tell you that this is in the best interest of the city.
Thank you, Chair. Well, you know, I always have to bring my human infrastructure into it. Now, the city of Benton Harbor has been trying for decades to raise up people in the community to help run the city. That hasn't happened, and it's not very well. Even when F&V came on board the first time by pretty much order of the state, a lot of things happen, and 8 months later, we get a lot of findings. And now I understand the findings came because they were under contract for lesser services than we were actually needing. So, and I know that doing my own research that they are a competent company. But my question is, did we input an avenue to bring up a Benton Harbor resident into that position? I know we got everybody that was at the water plant left except one, maybe two. So my question is, will we get some leaders out of our
To,
residents?
to be very honest, out of this contract, no. This is only a 2-year contract at this point. But the problem is that, one, you've got to have people with both the interest and the ability. I know, you know as well as I do, that we had employees that had been taking that test 7, 8, or 9 years and never passed it. You can't make people pass something that they're not prepared for. You can only provide an opportunity. Now, one of the other things that was also part of a problem, because a year ago, I contacted my alma mater, Southern Illinois University down there, because I know they actually have a building with wastewater facilities, water treatment facilities. They're one of the few places in the Midwest that can actually train people to the level that they can not only pass the test, but also can operate these facilities. I approached him and asked him, I sent him a copy of our job description and said, what are the possibilities of our being able to hire some of the graduates out of school? He called me back and he said, your possibility is zero. I said, why? He says, because what you're paying your people there, these folks are coming out of here making 3 times that. And that's because one of the things that happened with your emergency manager is they cut all those rates and so forth. And the rates that the people make or pay. That's what, when I came in the door, I was hearing everybody debate to you all about was that the emergency manager had cut their wages and they never gotten it all back yet. The reality is there is a market out here all around us and people get hired to do jobs. That's also the problem I was running into across the street at Dollar Ride. As fast as I would train somebody to get their CDL, they'd be with us 3 or 4 months and then they're out there driving one of those big trucks because they can make 3 times as much money. So this is a process. We don't have the ability to just say, no matter how hard we want to or try to, that we can just walk out here in the city, in the neighborhood, and pick up some people and put them in one of these positions. We can put them in the opportunity, but they got to do it, and even send them to school. Like the people we had, we paid for them to go to school, paid people to come down here to train them here.
That's even with the
Still
police
never
department.
worked.
Yeah, yeah, Honorable Chair, we had consensus, and I can get now, we have the clarity, and to address the commissioner, for that, everybody, and for everyone's understanding. So the letter basically stated that that there was mild contaminant, in the water, of 0.154, in terms of lead. Copper was 9.148, and to put those in perspective, that would be 0.154 and 15 parts per billion, which would equal just a 1% presence of lead in the water. And in terms of the copper, the 9.148, that would be into 1,300 parts per billion, which would equal 0.1%, which is so a non-action item in terms of the state. So, but what's important, what she said is that there's no safe value of lead in the body, so using filters would still be a good idea in this particular case.
All right, so we got a consensus to move this forward. Thank you, Dr.
I
Tom.
want to make one more statement on this.
One more statement on this.
2 years, we're gonna have F and B there for 2 years. That's enough time to prepare. If we put it in the agreement that they have an opportunity, or 2 years is a long time to go without. So if we can get a person to come up, and who knows, they might want to take, the rumor is that they want the water plant.
Yeah.
Rumor is they want the water plant. Now, if it's a big rumor, then action proves it. They've already taken the water plant out of Gene Clark Park's protection, and nobody knows how it happened. So if F&B is going to really take over, then we need to put things in place right now so they will be able to pull a resident up.
Actually, I misspoke earlier because they really do have, as I thought you said earlier, someone, they hired a couple of the people that we have here. The contract and the staff that F&B had back in April a year ago, there was nobody, I don't believe, on their staff that was local. That was one of the hidden costs that we were running into, was every time that something had to be done, they had people have to drive up from Indiana to be here. We now have 4 people on staff out here that are local. One of them came right from city staff here. It was one of our best performing people, and they hired him.
So they are Benton Harbor residents,
They
right?
do have.
You said 4? Oh, okay, because I know about 2, so therefore I need that kind of information, so it'll guide me to some happiness and some peace.
Thank you.
So if you would provide that for us. And one more thing, the RFP that we're sending out for that grant for Ox Creek, we need to see that before it's out. So
No
through
problem.
the chair, would you ask?
I will. I'll get that for you.
Thank you.
Public comments. You got something you want to say, add to the,
Water, yeah. I just wanted you to know, what are we doing if we're gonna have to pay this person more out of pocket to create some jobs, to add to the tax base? See, we good at spending and coming up with those type of ideas, but I'm just saying, cause I caught the flux for fighting as hard as I did, the only one that's bringing in some millions now.
Thank you.
Come up with some of them.
thank you. Public comments, and then we're going to adjourn this meeting. Young lady.
Adidra Fields again. So I don't know, I guess I was confused from the different conversations that has happened, the continual questions. I thought we were talking about purchasing and properties and things of that nature. So like city-owned lots and locations, how do you acquire them? How do you purchase them? Are they,
Did you say 272 Pipestone?
yep, that is shared with Pastor Palmer's church, which is how I learned about that one. Because I didn't know the city owned it.
We don't.
No, the city owns the driveway,
Right,
which is
that's
the
that's
access to
like-
the
Oh, I
building.
thought that was a parking lot.
No,
Oh, okay.
so it's not the driveway, it's the driveway, which is the
That's the parking
actual
lot.
way to get into the building. So you can't get into the building unless you go through the driveway. And right next to it is the parking lot that we own, which is 272 Park 2. But the city owns the driveway, and then we own the parking lot. So sandwiched in between the building and the parking lot, that's what the city owns. So the city controls access to the building. And then and Palmer is on the other side of the parking lot where his church is at with his Bethel Restoration.
Are we going to put some parking meters on? No, I'm just.
No, okay,
So,
okay, so they own so the city owns the driveway.
So we
not the
own, do we
actual-
own 272? Who owns?
Driveway, you own the driveway.
Who owns 272 Pipestone?
The city.
Is that, because.
Who owns
for clarity-
272 Pipestone?
I don't believe the city owns 272 Pipestone.
Driveway.
So it was showing up.
So do we own the driveway or the property? Or the property is 272?
We have a portion of a driveway area through that and property behind it.
So who owns the parking lot?
Correct. Sandwiched right in between the building and the parking lot, the driveway is owned by the city, which controls access to the building. So therefore, technically, the city can deny access to the building.
May I answer?
Can we, all right, so the question from the public, I do apologize, Ms. Fields, for cutting you off. I want to let you finish, then we'll respond. I think you're the only one that has a public comment. So go ahead, and you have the floor, and then after that, then Mr. Little, Director, I'm sorry, not Director, City Manager Little will respond.
So with a question, is the question solely for you, or do I have to bring it before the committee? I didn't know like how that worked. And so like I actually have events planned. And so how much parking lot do we have? And then if it's, and then this is weird. So how does that work on the driveway into a space?
What building are you using?
Pastor Palmer's church, but he said that he doesn't own the church doesn't own the entire space. So I didn't know he was referencing a driveway versus the entire lot.
You probably need to get them together with Pastor Tynes and keep it real minister, well, Pastor Reverend Dr. Donald Tynes.
Right, because I'm saying if it's like food trucks and there's different things there, and then it's like, this isn't private, or this isn't the church, this strip right here is the cities, and then this one is,
Are you
it's
coming
just
to
a lot.
purchase it, or?
I want to know how that works, because
What I told,
when I asked, when
they
I,
can use the parking lot, I told them, I can supply, electrical and what they need, but the driveway is owned by the city. I own the building and the parking lot, but the driveway is owned by the city.
Correct.
So I can bring the electrical supply out to whatever they need, across the city's property.
City Manager Little, can you speak to that, please?
Yes, sir. In the instance of what I'm hearing described, you simply need to get permission from the city, if need be, to use it. But I thought I heard you asking a larger question about properties in general. The city is acquiring different properties for different reasons. The greatest number and the greatest reason is we're reestablish construction of new housing in the city and anticipate utilizing lots all over the city to try to help make that process occur. As a matter of fact, I know all the commissioners received a copy, and members of Planning Commission and the others of the recent study that we had done by University of Michigan, given an outline of what the challenges and what the solutions would be to help make that happen. This city, for well over 40 years, practically given away property to people who basically were all going to build something new and whatnot. And I'm talking into it, and in essence, you can look and see it hasn't happened. Some of these properties are back in the city's hands for the fourth and fifth time, where they've gone through the cycle of not having taxes paid or whatever, and they wind up back with us, except that we sold them for $50, but to get them back the next time, we got to pay all the taxes on them, and it may be $1,000 to get them back. So, but it's a part of a plan that we have to climb out of the economic hole that we're in, get this population up above this 9,000 that we have, and start to rebuild this city.
thank you for that. So, 2 questions. So I had additional properties, so there's some on the block of Thrasher, I can't remember if it's 500, but before Fair, right? That I really wanted to inquire about other ones as well. I wanted to come to this meeting because this is economic development. But then I still had a further question as to, is there a particular reason that the city still owns whatever part of the lot between Dr. Tynes and Pastor Palmer's property? Because instead of like keep getting permission from the city, it'll be easier just to be able to use it.
Sell the property. Okay, Honorable Chair, after, as a reverend, as a pastor, the bottom line is this, is that I've talked with Mr. Little about purchasing the property, not even giving it the property, because the stuff that happened prior with the property, it was not his administration, and all I want to do is have my driveway clean. And Mr. Little, in his mindset, is that he wanted to, I'm sorry to use the word, but extort me in terms of give my driveway. I don't want to use that, but he wants he wants another property in exchange, a building, the Taekwondo building, in exchange for the driveway. And then at the same time, you're going to mention that you want to purchase property to have access to Ox Creek. but deny me access to my building. That's what Mr. Little has done and said today. So how can you allow access for your Ox Creek, but not allow me to purchase access to my own buildings? So I need that to be
Well-
explained to me, Honorable Chair.
Well, not in this public setting, but I will speak with the city manager, and we will provide a documented resolution for that. I don't think that's something that's public. I mean, the public needs to. We don't need to go with that just at this point.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, there is one part that I think the public does need to realize, and that is this. As I was saying a little earlier about trying to rebuild this community needs tax base. We don't need more properties to go into non-tax paying status. As I indicated to Dr. Tynes, and as I say to anybody else who comes talking about city property, bring me somebody that's ready to build a house, build a building, a business or whatever on some of this property, and the city will sit down with them and work out a deal to get it done. But we don't turn it over and here you got it. Now wait 20 years to see if you're gonna build something. You wanna build it, we make an agreement to do it, you get prepared to do it, we put a restriction on that deed, and then we start putting together what needs to happen. We got enough property that's not paying taxes in the city.
And we're talking about a driveway, and he's going on tangential. So let's just, all I want to do, Honorable
right.
Chair, is just to deal directly with the driveway and access to the property, what should be the right of any person using a facility, living in a facility, not the sidebar.
So wait a second before you leave, city manager. Do we own up to the door?
Yeah, just maybe, yeah, right along the walkway of the building is.
No, I'm saying the door
That part, I'm not sure, but pretty close. I don't know.
where the overhang is.
Yes, that's the city. So right there, that's the city-owned property, the driveway, the actual driveway.
Where the overhang is.
Correct.
Also an access from Pipestone directly to the property that we own behind it. And as I said to Dr. Tynes when we were talking, if you're talking about putting a business in there or some development that's going to contribute to the city, pay taxes and provide jobs and whatnot, then we'll work with you to try and get that done.
We're talking about a driveway, sir. That building is already designated for a program. And
Can we
so-
bring that back to the next meeting and try to find a feasible way to?
all I want to do is purchase a driveway to have access to my building, to my property. You just today saying to purchase $300 to have access to the Ox Creek, but yet I'm being denied access to my building. And I spoke with Mr. Little on several occasions for several months about having access. He allows everyone else access to their property, but me. Is it personal?
The city is building something there.
You're not
with
the city,
Ox
sir. You're a city manager, but you have commissioners. So all I want to know is, to me, you told me, you personally said that you do not want me to have that property only if I give you 240 Colfax. So that's not how a city manager works. That's not how a city works. Sometimes it's not the institution, it's the
Dr.
individual.
Tynes,
So I'm speaking
We
to the
said to
individual.
you that one possibility would be a trade of properties. You have quite a string of properties that are off the tax rolls, and one of them happens to be right there near Colfax. We said, okay, if you want it, why not trade one of them? You can call it what you want to, but if the city decides...
Trade a driveway for a recreational place where kids are
All right.
doing taekwondo.
City Manager Little, before you go, is there any way possible that we can get together and try to figure something out? I mean, because the thing is, I don't want anybody to leave here with a bad taste.
Purchase my driveway. I'm not asking you to give it to me. I'm asking you to let me buy my driveway, my access. You have a driveway to your house, let me have a driveway to mine.
Now, before the city manager leaves, could I
Yeah, go ahead before he leaves.
I guess it was Albemarle what was doing the storm drains, and I was telling him for a long time that it was clanging. Every time you go down Broadway, check yourself, that sound is never left. And they have, I don't know, they call it plates or something that you can put in those things. Other storm drains don't make that noise, and at night, it's loud, and I've asked, I've even said I wouldn't even ask again, but here I am again. Would you, through the chair,
I'll see if we can find a way to tackle it.
What block, do you know?
1100 block.
Okay, 1100 block.
And
How does it sound?
You know exactly where I'm talking
Oh,
about.
do you?
We'll look into it and see if there's a way, maybe we can get a tack weld or something that'll hold that steady.
How does it sound?
Like,
The new ones is on Main Street, click, click, click.
clack, when you go by in at night, that is loud.
What is it, like ding, 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 or?
Oh, it's clack, 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 inside,
Metal, hitting metal.
metal to metal.
Like clack, clack, clack?
The storm drain, what would a storm drain sound like if it was clacking?
Can you check on that, please, Mr. Little?
Yes,
I appreciate that.
Again, and I appreciate you for doing it too.
and Mr. Chairman, we can talk, and
About that driveway issue, because I don't want anybody to leave with any bad taste in their mouth about that.
but I would say this, Mr. Chairman, and that is understand that all over the city, there are people who are saying, I want this property, it's next door to my house, I want this property, I've been cutting the grass, I want this property, I've been doing that. Either we're gonna do something for the city, or,
None of that is denying access.
but just because somebody starts to making a bunch of noise and, as if they own it already, like I said, there's a way to do this. If you're gonna develop something there, business,
Not on the driveway, sir. Stop it. Not on the driveway, sir. Let the person have access to the building. We're talking about a driveway. Let the person have access to the building.
Thank you. We will discuss that soon, Mr. Little. And that would be, anything else, any public comments? Adjournment is.